This is The Balanced Dilemma. We tackle the often uniquely, but not always, female dilemma, managing life, work, family, and self. I'm Maura Carlin.
And I'm Christie Derrico. At The Balanced Dilemma, we speak with women and men to hear their balanced stories. Our guests are entrepreneurs, reinventors, creators, executives, parents, and partners, telling us what we really want to know. How the heck did they manage that? And can you have it all and all at the same time?
She had a thriving career on Madison Avenue as an award-winning art director, and then she walked away to start over in a kitchen. Born and raised in Turin, Italy, Silvia Baldini knows a thing or two about reinvention. She's done it more than once, and she's built something remarkable every single time. Top champion, best-selling cookbook author, food television personality, entrepreneur, wife, mother, and the woman behind Strawberry and Sage, a culinary venture that bridges food, culture, sustainability, and community, and puts other women at the table right alongside her. Today, we're talking about what it actually takes to blow up the life you built, trust the pull towards something new, and create a career and a community on your own terms. Welcome to The Balanced Dilemma, Silvia.
Thank you. This is such a huge honor. So thank you for having me here. This is amazing.
Well, we're so excited because we always like to talk to women that we respect, and yours is such a great story.
Likewise.
So many people, many women, spend years trying to build one career. You did that and you walked away from it. Why? Tell us.
Oh, that's a good question. So, I started working really young in New York in advertising, and it was exciting. I think I arrived in the city in the late 80s. So you can imagine how, vibrant. And I had this very successful career in advertising. Like I just showed up and I owned my own agency actually for 10 years, and it was really exciting. But it was also really tiring inside. And I found myself that I was on a plane every day. I was like, this is the ginormous project. And all of a sudden I needed to stop. And two things. Was not married, and I wanted it. All of a sudden, I didn't want to get married until I hit my mid-30s, and I wanted a family. And all of a sudden I was like, well, I need to work on that, because you can't just work and focus on work and not, you have to kind of learn to do both. And then I wanted to just, rebalance my life. And so I decided to change my career.
Was there a defining moment where you,
Mm.
aha, this is what I have to do?
There were many of those. One was, I can tell you the story. I was like on in advertising, I was a creative director, and I was doing a ginormous TV shoot because I was in charge of creating advertising and TV. At the time, it was like TV commercial. I don't think they even exist anymore. We don't have those.
They're all
budgets.
done with iPhones.
Yeah, exactly. We had those, but it was with Whoopi Goldberg, and she doesn't drive, or
She takes buses
she takes
everywhere.
buses, and the shoot is in Los Angeles, right? And she takes her bus, and she refuses to. So we're all in Los Angeles waiting for Whoopi
Waiting
Goldberg.
for the Greyhound?
Yeah, and she won't tell you where she is for security. So this is like day 3, and my best friend is getting married back, in New York, and I was her maid of honor. And it was 1 day, 2 days. I was like, I really kind of cannot miss this. And also, I'm stuck in a studio. And then she arrived at midnight. She gave us 45 minutes. And then I had to take a plane in the middle. You can't even do, I don't know how I did, but I came back. I wasn't dressed properly for the wedding. I threw up in a trash can because I was so tired and stressed. At that point, I was like, I need a break. I need to take control of my life.
It sounds like a story like that is actually the training ground for everything you've done since, because I've seen you in action in the kitchen, and you just have to roll with it when something goes wrong. And it sounds like it was a good training for you. What did your family think? Were they happy when you left this other career?
Well, I was a little older, and then in between, I met my husband, who's also Italian. He was getting his PhD in he's from Bologna, but he was at NYU, and he was super supportive. So he was like, Sylvia, just do whatever you want. If you want to change. My dad was a little less satisfied by the idea, but, I was like, I'm an adult, I'll do
Were they
what I...
focused on the money?
The money, but like I understand, like this, the safety, the security, like you have more. I had a mortgage already. Like I was an adult. I wasn't like a child, changing career. I was like I had built something substantial already. So that, and for somebody like that generation, where my dad was like in bank. You staying in one job. I don't think he even exists staying at one
Yeah,
job.
No.
it's really changed.
That is a big difference that I think is a shift between older generations and, the longevity people get in
Yeah,
careers today. You have to be reinventing.
So
you do.
looking at it now, what do you think would have been the bigger risk, leaving or staying?
No, I absolutely. I was making a lot of money. I don't know if I have moment when I make really good, and then moment. So that was a little more steady. So that part I was like, but it's been the most exciting ride of my life. One, I built an amazing family, which I'm really proud, and I have two wonderful, now almost late teenager, adult. I don't know what they are. They're like a teenage.
They're on their way
to adulthood, I think.
Adulting.
Yeah, they're adulting, I think, somewhat. And, and I rebuilt something that I'm really proud of.
You referenced this book by
Oh,
Jonathan Livingston Seagull. You said that was it made an impression on you. Tell us about that. What about that? It was important to you.
first of all, if you're a 70s child in Italy, that was the book that was given to you, in as a gift. And I was a bookworm. I was like always like I love reading, and I
You're
was
among the worms.
like obsessed. I wish I had a little more time these days, but I was one of those kids that, just give me a pile of book and I'll see you later. And so that just really stayed with me because it was like the feeling of freedom, the feeling of being different, the feeling of like, I don't know if you read the book.
It's kind of an allegorical story told through this bird. I forget what kind of
it's a
bird.
seagull.
Seagull, thank you, of course, in the
and
title.
he finds himself like floating over and feeling free. And I always loved that. Maybe it's a bit cheesy, like going back now. I was, like I was young and that just, but it always stayed with me. Like I love being with people. I'm super social, but I love the moment I have by myself. I'm introspective, and the idea of floating over.
Yeah, children here often
Yeah.
read Catcher in the Rye, which I'm not even sure they do anymore here.
Yes.
But it was the same thing, the feeling of freedom,
Yeah.
So was Zen and the Art of Motorcycle.
I love all of that.
Yes.
So how did reading that book prepare you for your path?
I don't
Or
know. No, I think I always was very adventurous. Adventurous. Some people are like, oh my God, I can't believe you moved from, first of all, well, I had the way I arrived in United States was a bit of an anomaly because my dad decided to take a job on my senior year in high school. I moved I had three brothers, and we all moved to LA on my senior year.
Wow.
And I didn't speak English. So, that gave me like a little, hey, here's
You
your
got to do it. Here you go.
And that was also like, early, like it was in the 80s. And, my dad just left us in front of the school. It's like, this isn't your school, figure it out. So, can you imagine?
Independence.
Well, it was a little criminal, but yes. But I always, and then I moved to New York. The day after I graduated from college, I got a call from a headhunter that said, would you like to come to New York and interview for in advertising? I'm like, okay. I didn't even, and so I came here and got a job in at J. Walter Thompson. That was my first job. And
That's a big job.
but like I was like, in my 20s, and I never been to New York before. And then I'm like, okay, now you have to find an apartment. I was like, oh, okay. So remember Craigslist?
Right.
So you have learned how to figure things out.
Yeah.
And before we get to the kitchen, I want to ask you how much of your identity was wrapped up in the money you were making when you left whatever advertising job you had at that time, because that's one of the difficulties of leaving a big career.
Right. I was really comfortable. Maybe I was a little too adventurous in thinking that you could rebuild something so quickly. Eventually I got back on the horse, so to speak. But like I just thought that, so I'm changing career and I have so much experience. What's the big deal? Which is, we can talk about, like, because you asked me about the money. The money was important. It was part of me. Like I liked at the time going to Barney's, remember?
Right.
You know,
Right. Giving up your Barney's experience. No,
uh,
it's true though. One thing we've heard with reinvention is that it's really hard to be a novice again. And when you're older, to be an intern, so to speak,
yeah,
it's daunting.
yeah,
You're used to a level of respect, and you did that. You went all the
yeah.
way back.
Well, you know what was so then my husband, we moved to Chicago, we moved to London, and when we moved to London for some reason, I was like, okay, I really cut off advertising completely because I was still dabbing into it, and I went to Cordon Bleu. And then the idea was never, oh, I'm gonna open a restaurant. I knew it was not something that I wanted, but as I was there, one of the chefs said, well, Sylvia, you know, if you don't get real experience, and so I went to work at the Ritz in the
Go
kitchen.
big or go.
Yeah, it was go big or go home, but also it was the first time, and I don't want to like I didn't go at the Ritz to sit in the front of the house. I went into the belly of this crazy, and I came in with everybody from the bottom stairs and this world that I honestly I never seen.
That's what I wanted to ask. Had you
Yeah,
ever seen what it was like to work in a
not like
big
that.
kitchen?
Like, you know, I had seen, I read, you know, Anthony
Yeah.
Bourdain, you read the, you know, Kitchen Confidential, there was the time where all the crazy food TV was starting to take over. And so you know, I never experienced that side. I experienced the beautiful food. I experienced the cooking and the hospitality, but never the hard work in the kitchen.
It is. And I'm listening to Ruthie's Table Number 4 podcast. It's actually really good.
Yeah.
But they have a very unique setup in their kitchen, which is not it was not commonly found. I mean, she's produced so many prodigious chefs that go on to do their own thing and follow their model. But even the waiters will jump in the kitchen and do some
Yes.
chopping, which is not how it normally was. There was a hierarchy, and
Yes.
you had to start chopping onions and then move
I
on.
I started first of all, it was run by as a French kitchen, even if it was London, which is not like it is here, except a couple big restaurant. So it's like an army. It's like the
Right.
army. Imagine
Chef.
chefs. Yeah.
Yes.
And so you have a hierarchy and you start, no matter what, you start from. So I started from peeling garlic and then peeling like langoustine for days. And I did it. And then they gave me, you know, the big move was like, oh, you can make pasta, which was like, you know. And then they moved me to the very special like truffle section. And then from there, like I moved up really quickly because, you know, right, being reliable in any job, you being in the kitchen or
That's half
being
the job.
Showing up.
yeah,
Showing up.
showing up and being there and not, you know, and having the back of other people, no matter what job.
I tell my children that.
Right?
Just show up and you'll at least get a
Yeah.
C.
We had another guest. One of our early guests was also a chef, a woman, and she talked about being the only woman in the kitchen
Right.
and how tough that was.
Anna Maria. Yes.
Santarelli. Was that your experience or not?
It is tough. It is tough. Depends on which kitchen you are, first of all, and what are you doing in the kitchen. But it's tough because it's a physical job. No matter what, it's a physical job. Like
On
you're
your
going
feet.
on your feet, and it's full of really burly men in there, which are not necessarily. I don't think about discrimination. It's not something that I ever encounter. But they're like, you know, it's testosterone and they speak like it's a locker room. And so are you going to take that or are you going to, you know, so you have to create your own bubble and, you know, and then you're like the equipment, like, you know, in your own kitchen at home, you're like, have your like handheld precious pink thing. There is like the size of a cement, you know, thing is
Right.
like 3 feet tall because you're doing a soup for, you know, 100 people. So are you going to have the strength to do that? And it's interesting to think about the physicality.
And beyond that, you mentioned, you know, they spoke like it was a locker room. Was that similar to advertising?
Yes.
So there you go.
I'm like the original, like, you know, Mad Men girl. When I saw that, I actually just watched it recently again because when it came out the first time, you know, I didn't, you couldn't pause, like, you know,
Mad Men.
you remember and I was like, oh my God, that was my life. You know, but it was what I did. And so at one point when I was 29, I became partner in an agency, which was pretty amazing at that age. And it was 4 men and myself. And I ran the creative department and I did new business. I was treated almost like in a fun way, like one of the boys, until, I couldn't take it anymore because I'm not a man.
Right. But there is something about you, and going to what Maura said about the bubble around you. I had a woman once say to me that she projected an energy that said the door was closed for
Yes.
things that were inappropriate. And she said,
extracurricular.
that's right, extracurricular, which she had many stories of those invitations, which is part of what we're talking about, whether it's Mad Men or Kitchen Confidential. That's the problem. And you went into the kitchen a little older,
Yes.
not a 22-year-old. Do you think that gave you a little bit of your
Yes.
force field?
I have force field, but also like I had a lot of, you have experience. I wasn't looking for an adventure. I was not looking to sleep with anybody or to, I knew how to handle myself. I think had I been younger, I think, you don't know, you just have to learn. Nobody teaches you. And so I had built a callus.
Yes.
to that sort of situation. So, I built a bubble. It's like, I don't think people would, even dare.
So I just have to question, we ask people about mentors, and you mentioned your father. Was there any other women in your life who did all the stuff that you did?
Oh, they did all the stuff?
Or anything. Who was your role model?
Oh my
Who told Silvia that you can do this, you got this?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think it's like wanting to have freedom and seeing the women that had freedom. Just really, I associate with a lot of figures like that. So I had in my life women that mentor or help me. And I still have a person that is incredibly important to me that is in her 80s and that I can, I think she's fabulous. And when I need to chat.
I think that's so important. We've talked about this, having women in your lives of different ages.
Yeah.
Because we all learn from them. Were there moments of self-doubt? Or, I mean, you did graduate at the top of your class from the institute, and I think we have to mention that.
Very well.
Very well.
But were there moments of self-doubt where you wondered whether you could do it?
I have moments of self-doubt all the times. And also, like I don't reach all my goals that I set, those are my private goals and I don't have to share, but like there is a lot of things that I wish I could have done that I've, not achieved, and many that, I achieved. So yes, I self-doubt every 15 minutes.
Well, you used a great phrase, the kitchen humbles you.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
Well, because, again, you said something before it's really interesting. Was it hard to change? Did you think you were going to come into your career at the top? I thought that when I came in, I thought, okay, so I'm just going to go switch and I'm going to be, like a partner, whatever, like the head chef, and you're not. And so, yeah, so it humbles you. And then it humbles you when, you see the money is very tight, that, it's highly competitive as well, where, it's not a stable business,
No.
it's, yeah.
For fun, what's the biggest mistake you've ever made in a professional kitchen?
Like as while I was
As a chef,
cooking.
yeah.
My God, there's so many, like I don't even know, like I dropped things. One thing that you have to learn in the kitchen is I should have known that, but you never use glass.
Mm-hmm.
And so I placed some glass at the top and it just came down and it broke all into whatever was cooked at the time. And then you have to restart. So that's like a silly mistake, but it's not silly when you have people on the other side waiting to be fed.
Right.
Now, I imagine that you were pretty much of a natural at making the pasta when they assigned that to you. Did you grow up in Italy making that in the kitchen at home?
Yeah, I always say that, I grew up under my mother and grandmother's table, that, making pasta. That was kind of what we did. And there was always space in the kitchen for not just me, but everybody in the family to come and learn. And it was passed on. So I loved those moments.
Was that like the gathering place of the house, and did food have a role in your family and in the life that they were building?
It is like I think as an Italian, but also as that kind of family, it's not so much like just the little meal at the end of the day, or the moment. It's intimacy is moment where you have time to share. So it's the food, but it's also the community.
I remember I went to one of your events in Harlem, and which is, supporting food for the poor, which is an excellent thing. And the food was amazing. But one of the dishes was, I don't know the Italian name. It was all the bits and ends of pasta.
Oh, yes, yes.
What is the name of that?
Maltagliati.
And I was with this Italian couple, and they were overjoyed to be given this. They said, just like my mother. To me, I said, oh, goodness, everyone used the bottom of the box to make this soup or whatever. But it really showed how family cooking, it's in your DNA, and it's part of the culture, and it carries through.
Yeah, but that place is special. It's in Harlem, and it's Refettorio, and was started by Massimo Bottura, who's like one of the most prestigious chefs in the world, with the idea of feeding the community around the world. So many cities have like a space like that called Refettorio, but to feed the community with a sustainable food that is donated. So we reuse whatever is donated by pantries or by grocery store or other chefs, but also to do it with dignity and beauty. And I love that. Like, there's a lot of these organizations, thank God we still have that in this country. But, this one is particular because it also offers maybe, a moment of art, a moment of music, and where, you go, you eat beautiful food cooked well, but also you do it with dignity and beauty.
I think they said they did 800 covers a week or something.
Yeah.
And it was served with dignity. It was delicious.
And were there lessons you gathered from I can't say it,
Refettorio
table, as well as those from your table at home?
Yeah, we Italians are like, well, we call ourselves frugal, but we're very cheap. I always say it too. No matter where you come from.
Lost in translation.
Yeah, no, we're frugal. My husband is frugal. We say that, the Italian women say that. But you don't waste anything, and you learn that no matter where you are in your, if you're poor, if you're rich, if you're wealthy, you just don't waste. So you reuse. It's a big no-no to. And it's so funny because, my grandmother used to like really yell at us about this. Like, you can't, like, you got to finish, eat the whole apple. Don't leave pieces, reuse. Don't, when you peel a potato. I was like, oh my God, when you're a child. But then when I went to work in a kitchen, it translated in business. Like, if you throw away something, you're losing money. Everything that you buy is a penny that you throw away, is a penny that you throw away. And so that is where money is razor thing, where in like throwing away food, you're not going to survive as a business. And I was like, oh my God, my grandma taught me.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of grandmas, this brings us to another facet of you, which is that you are a wife and a mother.
Oh, yes.
Tell us about how you have blended the two halves of yourself in your professional life and your family life.
Well, I blend because, first of all, it's the joy of, I didn't think it would be so joyful until I had this family, and we're a little unit, and I love that. I love having this, it's mine. I built it the way I want it,
And they listen to that? We have some rebels.
I have major rebellion. I have like a daughter who's like 17. So right now I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? But yeah, had I not had them, probably I would own 5 restaurants. You can't do everything in life. So you need to choose. And to me, it was important. So that's why I kept this crazy career as project based and not like,
you could step in and step out when you needed to.
Like you need to keep it flexible. And then that means that, obviously you can't do certain projects. You have to choose. Yeah.
And proximity, you live in a suburb of New York. Do you travel? Have you traveled a lot in the course of, motherhood and working? Or did you try to power down and do things more local? How did that present itself for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. At the beginning, when they were little, I think I was a little more anxious about going away. And then as we evolved as a family, I got an au pair.
God bless au pairs.
God bless au pairs.
I need to be more honest about the help.
Totally.
Yes, I had a lot of help.
Yeah.
And, and helping the house and, and so, yeah, I didn't do it on my own, but I traveled a lot. Yeah. But I had,
And your husband, what is the setup? We often ask couples this because Some aren't as transparent. Who's cooking, who's cleaning, who's picking up the kids.
Who's keeping track of who's cooking and
Exactly.
cleaning and picking
Did
up
it
the
matter?
kids?
What was the blend in your house?
Well, the blend is he's an amazing father, and he's very present when it comes to advice and taking. We're like a bit of a traditional family, which I never thought would happen. Like he works in finance, he's a mathematician. He cannot, not be at his job every day, and so he takes that side, and then I organize the rest, and I try. So I took it on, but like it doesn't mean that he's absent. He's very present when with the family, and we always made a point that we needed, but certain things are like you need to divide and conquer.
And how you have two daughters? How do
I
they?
have one daughter and one son.
there we
Yeah,
go.
sorry. Otherwise she'll kill me.
Yeah, that's usually how it is. How do they look at you and as a role model? Are they,
Yeah.
we've had other mothers on the show, and Annabelle Monaghan said, her kids are, I don't think they've read her books, but she's an author. How do your children look at you and everything you've done?
I think they love it. I think they loved it more when they were more enamored when they were little. Now that they're older, like my son loves, for example, cooking, and my daughter could not care less. And but they're like, obviously they feel they feel it. They know that I'm not like many moms or around.
Well, how often do you pull with them or anyone else the I won Chopped card?
That's so funny. So Chopped is, I'm grateful for Chopped because I went on Chopped. It was always a little bit of a branding for me. Like, it's like, I'm going to go and it's going to be fun. And, I worked in advertising. I know it's going to bring me some kind of return.
Right.
But then I never thought I would win or go back. And, I've been back many times, and that started something else. And that has taken a life of its own. I love it. I'm grateful. I hate though, because I have done so many things. And people always zero in
Just
on
say,
Chopped.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. Like I have 2 books and I build incredible things, I
love that.
Yeah.
The entrepreneurship, the authorship.
I brag. I have no problem. I think women need to brag more. I tell that
Exactly.
to my daughter all the time. So don't be, like you do it, you talk about it like a man, just talk about you do. So yeah, so I produced 2 books I wrote 2 books, 2 cookbooks, which I'm really proud of. I work with this incredible nonprofit, and that's something that I really, really enjoy.
And the name?
Well, I'm with the Dames d'Escoffier, which is of New York, which is a group of women, like some of the best women.
Lydia.
Chefs?
Well, it's hospitality. So we have wine, food. It could be authors. It could be podcasts, it could be anything, but related to, and actually we're celebrating the 50th anniversary, and it was started by this woman called Carol Brock, and her idea was to create a safe space to mentor for women in New York in the industry, because there was nothing like that at the time, and they were not accepted in Les Amis d'Escoffier. They were not allowed to participate. Now we cross over a little bit, but yeah, so she started. Now it's like a 28 chapter globally and stuff. And so I'm really involved with it. I've been on the board and stuff. I work with something called Grace Farm in Connecticut. That was an amazing project where I got to develop for them one of the first sustainable chocolate chip cookie. Which
we read about this.
It's like a bit of an adventure to do that.
I was expecting a sample. What happened?
Sorry, I should have.
Next time you'll send us the recipe.
I'll send you the cookies. And together they built a line, and it's all for nonprofit. So it's not, it's to sustain their foundation, like a tea that is sustainable and a coffee. So it was a really interesting project, sourcing the materials. I love that.
People can't even imagine. I mean, when you think of a banana, where did it come from?
Yeah.
That's not sustainable in terms of the supply chain. So when you make a recipe, I'm dying to ask you this question. I've heard other cooks, chefs talk about writing a cookbook. How many times do you have to practice the recipe before it ends up in the book? Does your family love that part of it?
Oh my God. Every time I'm in that mode, everybody gains weight. And then you have to go on a cleanse because we all tasting and everything. But yeah, it's a science, almost like a science. If I have a recipe in my head, I can make it because I know kind of how to make it. But when I have to communicate to you or anybody else the process and the ingredients, it needs to be very clear, and it's a special language. And so like people sometimes don't even realize, but a good recipe has the ingredients from the first ingredient then you use to the last. They need to be organized that way. The instructions need to be specific step by step. And so you might read the recipe and not understand. That's a fail. You don't understand what, how to do it, how to actually make it, and then your food doesn't come good. So it's a lot of testing and,
Right.
and trying. And
Do you record yourself making the dishes?
do I record like filming or?
Yeah.
Sometimes I do. The new generation, and I started doing it for many years, like on Instagram. I'm really present on Instagram. I do a lot of video work, but all of a sudden I kind of got tired. It was not kind of my thing to do.
We understand.
Right. I
You know?
actually think a lot of people are starting to feel that ennui.
Absolutely.
That it's a lot of work.
Narcissism.
Yeah.
If it doesn't come naturally to you, it's sure.
And it's like this, I don't know, I just felt like, and a lot of the stuff that it's out there is only, in my opinion, one or two that, and I know that the work is worth, the food and the recipe, or the rest is just, I don't know, this fluff is like,
How many cottage cheese recipes do you really want to see?
Right.
Today in the New York Times, there is the new lady that did like a bean solid, I can't remember what they call it, the solid bean salad, and he was like, oh my God, like beans, like again, like how, like, I don't know. And you have to devote a whole front page of the new, it's, to me is so, I think it's time to almost go away a little bit from this.
But I assume some of your success came from social media,
Yes.
and also your advertising background
Yes.
probably helped you navigate that better than it does for a lot of other people.
Yes. Like,
No.
I think social media is, you cannot live these days without social media. And I think it's important to be out there and create an image and a brand. But I think you have to be very true to yourself. People really, I always say when you do a branding, or where I work in I help some people build their own persona and their own brand, is like, you have to be authentic. You cannot create something and because you see it, it's like, oh my God, you're a fake. So you need to stay really true to who you are. There are a few people in the business. I love Lydia. Like, Lydia has been like a master at this, for the past 30
Well, you
years.
can see her genuineness when she's cooking, and she does little things. We won't get off track and talk about whether arugula can be a substitute for dairy. We're going to leave that.
Thank you.
But you know what? This brings us to an important topic. You are a woman of two countries.
Yes.
And what does Italy get about food that America does not? Italian food is now part of the national heritage.
It may be the top kind of restaurant that Americans go to.
But there's an understanding when you go and you understand the culture of eating in Italy and other countries that we are lacking here, that fights things like obesity and improves your health, all those things that are related to it, and also has communication around the table. What is it about Italian love of food?
It's such a good question. It's so deep, and it goes so, I feel, first of all, there is such a tradition to food. It has to be good. Nobody's going to stop. And now things are changing in Europe too, but like going to and have 3 donuts and walk around with like a latte that you bought for $15 in the middle. It's just not, you don't eat like that. You eat something that it's well done, that it's, well prepared and with the right portion. You share it and then you move on. You don't, that is ingrained in how you grow up. I think also it's not a matter of class or where you come from socially. From if you're not wealthy or if you're wealthy, the food is good. And it's.
But is it the same?
It is actually in Italy. It's so interesting. Like, it's cooked well. Everybody knows somebody in the family, although, now is also that is changing because now with 2 people going out and working, men or women, it's not so easy to prepare food like it used to be. But you have this attention to that. Here, I feel good food is, first of all, good product and produce is very expensive and hard to, and then we have not educated for 2 generations now. I think this is the 3rd generation. Nobody knows how to cook at home anymore.
Right.
I mean, you know how to make like a special meal or one recipe, but you don't know how to budget at home anymore. Nobody knows how to cook every day, and it's tedious. It's hard. I mean, it's hard.
Let me just ask you what you think of certain American Italian foods, because I imagine you have an opinion about, let's say, pineapple on pizza.
Oh my gosh. So there is two I respect. This is a question that I get asked a lot. No, but I know
We thought we were
no, I'm not like that. But there is two kinds of Italians. The Italians that emigrated here, maybe at the beginning in the 1800s, and they came here with nothing. And so they found themselves in a crazy country without any of their products.
Right.
And so they had to reinvent, and they had to. So the cuisine, the recipe have evolved in something that is called, red sauce table, it's not bad. It's just different. And then there is the Italians from Italy that, will never put a pineapple on the pizza, and they will like call the police. So do I, sometimes, like, do I eat pineapple? That, no.
Okay. Well, I have a few more. Chicken parm.
I love a good chicken parm.
Okay. Oh. Is it gravy or is it sauce?
None of the two, but yeah. It's, it's pasta sugo. It's sugo. No, it's gravy. I think if you come from, like, it depends which part of the Bronx you come from. I don't know.
The never-ending pasta bowl at Olive Garden.
I just had this discussion with someone, and they told me how much they love it. And actually, I think they had a reception for their wedding.
Oh, gosh.
But they're like, it's convenient.
They got never-ending breadsticks.
Yeah.
What is one ingredient that a home cook should splurge on?
Olive oil, really good olive oil, always. Like basics, like you have to have the stuff that, like that. Parmigiano, good stuff. I don't think you should get anything bad, but there is a difference between, like, you can cook a delicious meal with like a very inexpensive cut of meat. That's okay. But like if you don't have the good base, like good olive oil or good, Parmigiano.
So you've been here a long time. What is
Yeah.
one American dish, food that you would say it's something totally American, but you really like? That's a good
Oh
good
my
representation.
gosh. I do like a good parm, and also like chicken parm, and I love a good spaghetti and meatball bowl, which you would be killed in Italy. It's delicious.
Yeah, to have a big bowl.
Oh,
I would say
that's
one
a
thing
food.
I missed when I lived and studied abroad was American ice cream. I feel that at one point it would be my answer to what would I want, what food if I was stranded on a desert island. It would be a good ice cream.
Okay.
But Europe has caught up a little bit, and gelato is amazing.
Yeah.
So we always ask our guests, and we have to ask you, can you have it all and all at the same time?
No, you cannot. But you can strive to have, the best and build something amazing. I don't think having it all, what does that mean, having it all? I don't think it's what you want a family, you're going to have to spend time taking care of, you build these humans. And so you're going to have to, you want a super uber career, then you have to stay there, at the office or of working, 14 hours a day. There's, in my opinion, but.
Where can our guests find you?
Where you find me? Like,
Yes.
oh yeah, like
Yeah,
you
all
can
those-
find me.
Yes.
You can find. You can find me. Yeah. So I'm on Instagram. It's Silvia Baldini, Strawberry and Sage. Like I'm very active on Instagram. I have a website, Silvia Baldini, and everything is Silvia Baldini. So you can find me in every kind of platform there. I stopped doing TikTok because I'm too old for that.
Well, you never know. Look
No.
at Ina Garten. She made a whole thing out of her cocktails, right?
She has like a good group of like behind her that builds like the thing. You have to have like creators, and I try to keep it simple. But yeah, and she's wonderful, by the way.
Well,
so.
you knew to get your domain name, so you got all
Yes,
those.
there you
Yes.
go.
Who's gonna get Sylvia? It's mine, and I bought mine for my children too when they were born. I hope
you're
you
so
guys.
That's a good idea. It's a baby
Amazing
gift.
idea, right? Well, it's been wonderful talking to you. Christy's told me so many wonderful things about you over the years, so this is great.
She's always a good invite because
Especially if she brings
good
food.
good energy.
Next time I'll bring food.
Your heart, is evident meeting
Well,
you,
thank
and
you.
it shows through your creations.
And
Thank
I'm
you
sure
so
it's in the
much.
food.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please follow us, listen to us, and rate us on our platforms, Spotify, Apple, and our website, thebalanceddilemma.com, where you can also subscribe to our newsletter and email us your suggestions. There's no cost, but it means a lot to us.